They were part of a television franchise that shaped an entire generation. Bright colors, clear heroes, and stories built around teamwork and hope. For millions of viewers, these characters were larger than life. They appeared daily on television screens, became symbols of strength, and remained etched into childhood memories long after the episodes ended. But when the camera stopped rolling, the lives behind those characters followed very different paths. Some found stability, some struggled quietly. And for others, the years that followed fame were marked by pressure, loss, and profound change. This video looks at the later years of 5 Power Rangers actors, what happened after the spotlight faded, how fame reshaped their lives, and how their stories ultimately came to an end. These are not sensational stories. They are human ones. When Power Rangers launched in the early 1990s, its impact was immediate and overwhelming. What began as a children's television experiment quickly turned into a global phenomenon, airing almost daily and reaching households far beyond its original market. The pace of production was relentless, and the audience response was unlike anything most of the young cast had ever experienced. For many of these actors, fame did not arrive gradually. It came all at once. Overnight, they were recognized in public, invited to events, and treated as role models for millions of children who watched them every afternoon. Travel became routine, attention became constant, and privacy became rare. Very little time was given to understand what that level of visibility meant long-term. Behind the excitement, the structure of the industry told a different story. Contracts were short, seasons moved quickly, and stability was never guaranteed. Once filming wrapped, there was rarely a clear roadmap for what came next. Unlike long-running sitcoms or film franchises, Power Rangers was designed to evolve, replace its cast, and move forward without hesitation. As new teams were introduced and the franchise refreshed itself, many original actors found themselves stepping out of the spotlight just as quickly as they had entered it. They were suddenly navigating adulthood with a public past that did not always translate into future opportunity. For some, this transition was manageable. They adapted, recalibrated, and found new paths. For others, the experience of early fame became a defining force, one that continued to shape their choices, challenges, and sense of identity long after the show moved on. Kinson David Frank became one of the most recognizable faces in the Power Rangers, even though he was not part of the original launch. When his character was introduced, the response was immediate. Audiences connected with the intensity he brought to the role, and within a short period of time, he became a defining presence within the series. That popularity elevated him to a level of recognition few actors on children's television ever experience. Fan attention followed him everywhere, from public appearances and conventions to martial arts demonstrations, where admirers lined up not just to see him, but to feel connected to the character he represented. Unlike many of his peers, Jason did not step away from that identity. He embraced it, returning to the franchise multiple times and maintaining a strong relationship with the fan community. But remaining so closely tied to a single role came with a cost. The expectations never truly faded. To many fans, Jason was not simply an actor who once played a hero. He was that hero. Maintaining that image required constant presence, constant strength, and constant reassurance that the person behind the character was as unbreakable as the one on screen. As years passed, the divide between public persona and private reality became harder to manage. Jason remained visible and active, projecting confidence and discipline, but the pressure to always appear strong was unrelenting. Personal struggles existed beyond what the public could see, shaped by the weight of long-term recognition and the demands that came with it. In his later years, Jason continued to be celebrated for his impact on the franchise and the lives he inspired. Yet those closest to him understood that carrying such expectations for decades leaves marks that applause alone cannot erase. His story stands as a reminder that visibility does not always mean support, and that even the most familiar heroes can face their hardest moments in silence. Thuy Trang's journey followed a very different path from many of her castmates. As one of the original members of Power Rangers, she helped establish the foundation of a show that would soon become a cultural landmark. From the very beginning, her presence on screen stood out. At a time when representation in children's television was far less common, many viewers saw themselves reflected in her character in ways they had not experienced before. The rapid success of the series brought sudden recognition, but Thuy never appeared driven by the need to remain constantly visible. Rather than trying to remain tied to a single role, she chose to explore new opportunities and focus on personal growth, education, and a more private life. This choice reflected a clear desire for balance. The entertainment industry often demands complete devotion, especially from young performers, but Thuy approached her career with a sense of independence. She valued stability and self-direction over prolonged exposure, even when continued visibility might have been possible. In the years that followed, she remained deeply respected by fans and peers. Her work on Power Rangers continued to reach new audiences through reruns and fan events, and her impact never faded from the collective memory of the franchise. Yet she lived largely outside the spotlight, maintaining a life that was grounded and personal. Her life came to an abrupt end far too early, leaving behind a profound sense of loss. For many fans, the sadness was not only about what was lost, but about the quiet dignity with which she chose her path. Thuy Trang is remembered not just for her role on screen, but for the grace, intention, and balance she brought to life after fame. Pua Magasiva's experience reflected the global reach of Power Rangers and the unique pressures that came with it. As an actor who helped bring the series to international audiences, his role expanded the cultural footprint of the franchise far beyond its original borders. For many viewers, he became a familiar and admired figure, representing strength and leadership on a worldwide stage. With that recognition came significant expectations. Success arrived quickly, and with it, the pressure to maintain a public image that matched the heroic qualities audiences associated with his character. The transition away from the show proved challenging, as the structure and support of a major franchise were no longer there to provide direction or stability. In the years following his time on Power Rangers, faced increasing personal and emotional strain. Public appearances became less frequent, and he gradually stepped back from the visibility that had once defined his career. To the outside world, this absence was quiet and often unnoticed. Privately, however, those close to him later spoke about the difficulty of carrying public expectations while managing deeply personal struggles. The contrast between his on-screen image and private reality continued to widen over time. Like many performers who experience early success, he encountered the vulnerability that can follow once the spotlight moves on, especially when long-term support systems are limited or absent. His later years brought renewed attention to the importance of mental well-being and the unseen weight placed on public figures. Pua's passing deeply affected fans across the world, prompting reflection not only on his contributions to the franchise, but on the responsibilities that come with fame. His story remains a reminder that early success does not always protect against later challenges, and that compassion is essential when considering the lives behind public personas. David Yost's story stands apart for its resilience and quiet strength. As a core member of the original cast of Power Rangers, he played a central role in shaping the identity of the show during its earliest and most influential years. On screen, his character represented intelligence, loyalty, and calm leadership, qualities that became essential to the team dynamic viewers grew to love.